Here we go with step one. Starting off with the VS1014 Spar caps, the vertical stabilizer. The first step is to remove a section of this from the longer edge of the flange. I've marked that off, and unfortunately the first step involves using a bandsaw. There's other ways you can do this too. I have spent a long time trying to get a bandsaw blade, and then spent a long time trying to get the bandsaw to work. There's nowhere that carries 93.5-inch bandsaw blades for metalworking around here, but I finally found a spot that does after about 10 calls and multiple attempts. And as soon as I got that installed, the rubber wheels on the bandsaw blade turned out to be worn out. A friend of mine let me borrow this bandsaw because he hasn't used it, and I sold mine years ago. The smell of rubber in the room was pretty bad after that. In the meantime, I've started deburring some parts and using a file and a Dremel to do that. Waiting for some more Scotch-Brite wheels to come in to speed up the process. Well, I made the first potentially destructive cuts. It took me a while to figure out how to drill this in because it calls for a 1/8 inch drill, and I looked through my Cleveland tool set and I didn't see any 1/8 inch drills, and I assumed that I was making a mistake. So that's one reason that you want to look through the whole section. So I read ahead and figured out that later I think they'll be final drilled to the appropriate size. I just didn't want to start drilling any holes until I was absolutely sure I was drilling the right size in the right place. So I'm gonna get back to work and get some more done. So you'll see that I'm using a pneumatic Cleco clamp. I've heard some people say that you don't really need one of those, and you definitely don't need it, but I've had carpal tunnel surgery and I don't want to get it in my other hand too, so I would highly recommend it. It's like $80 or $90, but it is going to save a lot of wear and tear on your hand. So still working on page 1, working on the rear spar assembly. I'm to step number 3, and actually, yeah, step number 3, and I have to deburr all of these holes. It seems like there should be a better way to deburr them on the inside of this angle, but I'm not sure what it is. Fortunately, they don't require a lot of deburring. It's time for deburring fun with Gregory. Are you enjoying this process?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, I am currently on page, well, I'm on
page 6-3, and I'm assembling the vertical stabilizer. Unfortunately, part VS1004 is on back order. So now I'm kind of stuck and can't move on until they get that. A little disappointed in that, but hopefully we'll figure out something else to work on next. Well, since we don't have that one part and we're still waiting for it, we're going to start with section 7, the rudder. So you'll probably notice that the bench grinder keeps sliding around, and I bought a stand for it because I wanted to give it a stable platform, but unfortunately the stand just isn't heavy enough to hold it still, and even with keeping your foot on it and keeping a couple of weights on it, it's still moving. I've got to figure out what to do because I don't really want to drill holes in my floor.